let's talk about South Africa. It's gonna be two videos. One, we're gonna look at the population, demographics, a bit of economy. Another one, I'm gonna look in detail with Google Earth, and then we're gonna look at history. The one with Google Earth is gonna be in a few hours on my channel, so you're gonna wanna if you wanna check that. That will be I just check a little bit, and it looks pretty interesting, especially in the Cape Town region. But for now, we're just gonna talk about population. Now, South Africa have a population around 64, 65 million people. You're gonna see they are on the up trajectory, but growing rate, they are pretty much down and also all over the place, in my opinion. Now, let's look back in the history. 1955, they start, let's say, from that year with 15 million people, now at 65 million, let's say. Back then, it was 2.2% yearly change. Now it's 1.2%. Back then it was around 300,000 people net increase in population. Now around 470. Migrations used to be back then on a minus, but then they pick up with time. Then they have also some times between 95 and 2000 when they were on minus, and from then they got on the plus. I would say 146,000, the last one. Compared with what we have in the past, it looks like it's on decline. Median age back then was 19 years old. Now it's 29 years old. So I would say 10 years increase. It's not huge, but it is something. The fertility rate dropped very steeply. I would say from 6.2 to 2.2. Still above replacement rate, but clearly there is a descended trend, so it's not gonna last for much longer, and probably depends who asks. South Africa is one of those. It is the most unequal country in the world. Probably even those numbers are forged, and the fertility rate, it might be already under replacement, could be under 2 very easily, I would say. So yeah, you have to keep in mind even that. Urban population back then 47%, now 66%. So not a huge increase, but probably, like I said, most of the population is gonna be in a southern part of the country. I didn't check exactly, we're gonna look at that, but you're living in an urban area from the beginning and you don't have that much increase, and then you have a third of the population outside the city, so that's also gonna tell you quite a story. Now back then was a place, 1955 global rank 31, now it's 24, so they are increasing that. Let's look in the future now. They say they're gonna go with at 2050 at 80 million people. The yearly change obviously is gonna go down, and also the net population every year is gonna go around 500, half a million, let's say. And the migrants are gonna pretty much stable, let's say around 160,000, around that number. Median age is gonna increase just a little bit by 3 years. You're gonna hit around 32, 33 years old. The average guy. And fertility rate, you can see they go below replacement, let's say by this data, by 2040. Like I say, probably it's already 2025 already below replacement, but probably by 2050 it's going to be around 1.6, 1.5, around that, if they get lucky, I would say. And the urban population is going to increase a bit at 73, 75%. Probably, yeah, that's going to be also true. I don't think they're gonna cross 80%, but still it's a good percentage, I would say. And they're gonna see South Africa, it's an interesting country to just live outside the cities, not just in the cities. Now, global rank is gonna stay pretty much the same. They're gonna go a bit up, then a bit down, and pretty much by 2050 it's gonna be on the same place. Life expectancy in South Africa. You can see they have ups and downs, but right now with both sexes it's around 66 years old, female at 70 and males at 63. Now I'm not a huge guy promoting this life expectancy as high as possible, because in my opinion, who wants to live that much longer despite where you live? I don't like the idea of being old. So probably this age is probably, I would say, is pretty perfect for males at 63 years old. Life expectancy, I would be like, that's great. I can stop there. So from the European standards, that's low, but I would say not that bad actually. Infant mortality rate 22.4 and death under age of 5 30.5. So you can see clearly a lack in the health system. They have, I don't know exactly which country is the most health by the United Nations, but and health organizations, but probably South Africa it's in the top 5, I would say. Yeah, clearly not a huge medical system there, have some problems. Despite those problems, see the population still increasing. So that's gonna tell you something. Now, with the demographic population, you're gonna see this pyramid. It starts to show some weaknesses, I would say. So clearly, this population cannot be sustained at this rate. So clearly, like I said in these charts, they're gonna go down. So that's a good thing, I would say. Now, the one thing that I was interesting, they have sensors. Look at this. So in the country, in 2022, in the pandemic year, by the way, the total population was around 61 million people, and this chart is gonna say by 2022 around 62 million people, and now it's 64. So you're gonna see increase year by year, but not a huge one, I would say. Like I say, probably gonna have some difference in numbers. Nobody, I think they could get it right, and also there's some corruption there. They like to have higher numbers to get more funds and all that stuff. Black population, look at it, that's interesting. It's 50 million people, so most of them you can see already, and you can see in the video when I go to check, especially in the Cape Town, to check the South Africa, you're gonna see that inequality here. So already have 50 million people, blacks. Those I think colored, they are colored. They're a bit mixed race, so I'm not gonna count it as white, but white they are 4.5 million, and you're gonna see how much is the difference between how a white guy lives there and how the, let's say, native population, the black one, is gonna live there. They have some minority population in Indians and then others. So you're gonna see in a 62 million people, 50 million they are blacks, and the whites are let's say under 5 million. So we're gonna see 10% from the blacks population are white, and you're gonna see the difference in that ratio, 1 to 10, how actually they live there. In the economy is not much I can say. I would say they have a good position, definitely. Look at this, we are pretty much in the spear of the continent. The economy is not that bad, but because they have so much huge population, you're not gonna see that much benefit, especially like I said, the most unequal country on earth. You're gonna see some huge differences between them, but overall, for the size of the country, for the resource, they could done better. But for the population, because they got out of control, I have to say. Look at this. If they stay with, let's say, 15 million people, then it's pretty much a huge economics here for the people. It's gonna be like have one of those best country to live in, because you're gonna see the South Africa. It's a nice country there when you go to the landscape and from the land perspective. But in the economy, those numbers, they are growing, I have to say, and they increase their growth. It looks like that, but GDP is not that high for the population. That's always how you report them, because the population, and also because there's so much poverty there. Even the most of the population, they are not involved in the economy, so they do all those numbers with just, I would say, just a small percentage, and then they spend a lot of them. I don't know exactly how much, because like I said, they get a lot of funds from the outside, from those people who don't, let's say, participate in the economy, and that's pretty much available for every country in the world, not just for the South Africa. But you're gonna see, even with a small population, they get that efficiency. That's why you're gonna say in the future, when I see countries, especially like mine, they're gonna go down in population, they're gonna GDP and the living is gonna go up, because you get more efficient. Once you give somebody money and give them better condition, they always gonna become more efficient. If they start, let's say, with not that much in the first place, and then they see a real change over the time, those differences, they're gonna add up, I would say, because you know how you start with a little, and then you work and you see some results, and then you're gonna do more and more. You're gonna see much better, so you're gonna have a much better life if you start working, let's say, in some area. Okay, they have, like I have some, like I say, some problem finding jobs and all of that stuff, but overall, you're gonna see improvement in lives over the time. Yeah, I don't want to go in on Google Earth this video. Like I said, I'm gonna make after this one, I'm gonna make one. But position, it is pretty good, I would say, especially in the history. Now they have the Suez Canal, and there pretty much everything goes, especially in Europe from here. You don't want to pretty much go around entire Africa continent to just reach Europe, or even in South America you might go there, but for the European continent, which is one of the most wealthiest, doesn't make that much sense. They have some problem, I think, in this region with some pirates, let's say. But for now, like I say, the position used to be great in the past, but now clearly they got a hit. But also, like I say, by the end of the century, probably it's gonna be much better, especially if the population starts going down. That would see a huge difference, I would say. But probably for the most of the people, especially the blacks in this country, in the Cape Town, especially in that region, because there is a difference between living in a Cape Town and living in the rest of the country, I would say, which is always if you don't if you don't have a good chance of a good life in a city, most likely, not always, but most likely you're gonna do better, not economically, but better with your life outside the cities, especially if you have now those beautiful countries. Now, in my opinion, like I say, South Africa probably is gonna see some real increase in equality and also in wealth in the next century. In this one, I don't think they have enough time to fix it. But after 2050, probably gonna see some differences. So it's worth waiting, let's say. So yeah, in the history map, that's gonna be the interesting one. Let's go a bit zoom out and see where they start the first civilization. Okay, when I say civilization, just the modern ones, because clearly there were people there before. You just have to say when the first Cape Town or the first South Africa town, village, city appears. There were people there before, so it's not like there was nothing. So you're gonna see a pretty new, very new, I would say, country. And also look at this, they are even newer than America. Look at this, the Cape Colony in 1652. So clearly, look at this one, a very, very new one. So it's kind of normal to have all those problems, I would say. Look at this, a British colony, that fast. And they have a country inside the country called Lesotho. I didn't look at that, but probably gonna make another video with that. Yeah, they realized quite a few things, I would say, in such a short time. So that's why I say probably in the future it's gonna be much better. Republic of South Africa, and then they go in the just Republic of South Africa in 1994. So yeah, not that much changes from there, but they have potential, that's for sure. So yeah, check the other video that I'm gonna make now about how exactly people live there, because that's gonna be the interesting one. For this one, I just said what I have to say. Like I said, if you're living in a city and you don't do well, probably gonna have a better life outside the cities. If you're living in a city and one of those from the white part, the white people, you're gonna see how well they live comparison with the black one, and also with the color. So you're gonna see some huge differences here, because you're gonna see just the most unequal country on earth.